Your favorite toy truck nerds are back. Welcome to That Scale RC Show.
Hey everybody, we are back for the first time, I believe, in 2023 with episode 111. This is Jeremy along with Travis and Adam. Hopefully everybody had a good holiday season, and yeah, so here we are. Let's talk about stuff.
Hello.
Yeah, here we are.
Here we are. Over here.
Happy New Year's.
Yes.
It is
Happy New
February 15th.
I was going to say the day after Valentine's Day.
We really went a long time without recording, didn't we?
We did. We're slackers.
Yeah, next time you're on Podbean, take a look at how many episodes we did last year.
Like, by this time, you mean?
I mean, in general.
Was it not many?
It wasn't many.
I was going to say, I think we only did like maybe 10 last year.
Yeah, I think so.
Jeez. So we should try and do better this year.
We caught the TSR podcast bug.
It's called a gap year.
The gap year.
That works.
It's just aimless. Not really doing anything.
That's fine. So yeah, what's new with you guys?
Not a whole lot.
Not a whole lot.
No, not a whole lot. Besides work and drama at work. Oh, well, actually, I'm just going to dive right into it because we were talking about stuff to talk about before the show, and I can't believe that, this wasn't one of the first topics. We lost a big part of the RC community, especially here in Northern California. Brandon Tommy passed away. One half of the ASD crawlers, and that was a tough blow, a tough pill to swallow for sure when I heard the news on that one.
Yeah, that's a shame.
So his service was last weekend, so I was there getting to see a lot of people that kind of were like in our scene way back in the heyday, I guess if you want to say. There was people that I haven't hit the trail with in over 5-6 years. So
wow.
It was nice to see some old faces, and it just was sad that was the reason why we saw some old faces. So Brandon did a lot for the community. He was like one of the most like selfless people I knew in this hobby. I mean, when they said stories at his service about like what he would do for people, I mean, it was true. We actually witnessed it firsthand, actually just at Axial Fest. And that's part of what made this so hard, is because I saw him at Axial Fest, then saw him at not Crawl for a Cure, saw him at the ASD crawl in October, and then to hear in January he passed away. It was just like, we just saw you like 3 months ago. Like, this is unbelievable. But at Axial Fest, Michelle's dad really wanted one of those like paracord lanyards, and he knew, and I told him, I said, I'll talk to Brandon because he makes them, So we're walking by Vendors Row, and he was hanging out at the Reefs booth, and we were just BSing, and Tony goes, "So how much would it cost for one of those lanyards?" And he goes, "What lanyard?" And I said, "Oh, the paracord ones that you make." And he goes, "I don't have any with me, otherwise I'd sell you one." And he goes, "Oh, okay." And he goes, "You know what? Scratch that. I'll just give you mine." So we followed him back to his truck, and he gave Michelle's dad 2 of his. Tony paid him for them. And that just showed you like the kind of person he was. He didn't care. He just like, just make sure you got what you needed. And, you know, like I said, one of the most selfless people I knew in this hobby. And it's just sad. 40 years old.
That was just a matter of days too after Ken Block passed away, huh?
Yeah. Which was a whole, just, yeah. Yeah. 2023 has started out rough is all I got to say.
It seems like there's always something like this every year, you know, like whether it's, you know,
like when it turns over.
Yeah, like whenever whenever there's, you know, right after New Year's, it always seems like something happens and everybody's like, man, we're off to a great start so far.
Yep.
Sad.
But yeah, so so that's pretty much my beginning of my year in a nutshell.
All right. That's not very happy news.
No, it's not. It's not. And you know, still kind of like one of those things that, like, I don't know. And maybe I'll just vent for a second. Like, for me, the reason why it hit me even harder than, you know, it probably, like, this kind of news will always hit people hard, but like, I guess I got hit with a sense of like guilt and just like, yeah, guilt, I guess is the best way to say it. I always told myself, like, you know, I talked to you guys, you know, throughout, you know, the week, year, month, year, whatever, like, you know, we talk in between the show, we, you know, BS and all that stuff. I used to talk to Brandon a lot, and then it kind of slowed down around the COVID time, which I've talked to a handful of other people, like they've noticed that a lot of relationships kind of like for some reason went hiatus around then, because, you know, you went from texting and calling people to, like, you know, you're with like whoever you are at your house or by yourself, and that was it. Like, you weren't around people, so naturally relationships kind of like fell off. And I kept always telling myself, I was like, oh, I just need to just text him, say what's up. I just need to call him. I need to call him. And now I can't do that. So I just feel like guilty that like I never went through with like everything I was saying. So when I got the news, that's like one of the first things that like went right to my head was, I'm like, well, there you go, Adam. You effed it up again. You didn't listen to what you said, and you should have just, you know, reached out, and now it's too late.
I'm sure he'd understand though. Like, he's one of those guys that would, you know, probably be like, it's okay, dude. You know? No,
I know, but it's just like the self-guilt that you give yourself.
Yeah. No, I get it.
I think that's, I think it's natural to feel that way after like a circumstance like that. Because that's, you know, that's always like one of those lessons like you learn the hardest way.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately. Yeah,
wait till it's one of your parents, because then you're just like, there's a million different things you wish you would have said or asked, or, you know.
Oh yeah.
Like, really rough. Yeah.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so on to the next thing. Did you want to talk about releases, or what do you want to talk about?
Yeah, why don't we talk about some of the releases and stuff that have come out?
The worst part about us taking such a gap between episodes is I can't remember what we've talked about and what we haven't talked about.
I know, right? That's why I was kind of trying to do like a refresher before we started. I was like, okay, what did we do last time?
Well, last time was the live show, I think, and we didn't do much of anything. So, you know, in terms of coverage.
Right.
So.
Well, so then it's pretty funny because Axial's released 2 cars since our last episode.
Yeah. It's been busy. Like, looking back at it now, it's been a busy start to the year for releases.
Which is awesome.
It is.
So they released the first release of the year was the 18th scale Capra, which still is one of those ones that I'm scratching my head about, because it's like, we know that the 124 scale, you know, is really hot. It's a scale size that took off, and they did really well with. And then they came out with the 6 scale, which is doing fairly well in its own right. And they've been, you know, already releasing, you know, another car on that platform. They came out with the with the 6 scale trail honcho. So I was like, all right, it's, hopefully it's gonna be one of those two. It's gonna be something between there, and then they kept using the hashtag Rock Racer in it, so people were getting excited, thinking, oh, maybe it's another Rock Racer, because they discontinued the Bomber. So I'm sitting here thinking, okay, it's gonna be a 1.9, kind of like Bomber-esque, or maybe that's what they'll call it, the 1.9 Bomber. And I was like, and it's going to be like the gatekeeper competition, it's going to be like right in that same realm.
Mm-hmm.
And no, it was the 1/18th Capra. And you're just like, really?
There was a lot of people scratching their head over that one, though, to be fair. I mean, I don't think anybody saw that coming.
I mean, it's just a weird scale to come out in, I just don't.
There's no accessories for that stuff, well, I mean, once Traxxas launched the T4M, like all of a sudden, because that's another new one that just came out, like it seems like those have taken off really fast. I'm seeing a lot of aftermarket parts and stuff for those already too. Like people are not dragging their heels on those. But as far as like the Capra and stuff like that, you don't see a lot of 18th scale aftermarket support. So that's what's weird, because probably 75% of the people in this hobby want to change the body or do this, different wheels and tires and stuff like that, and you just don't with these. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but to be fair, that's the one thing, the one common thing I've seen with the 18th scale Capra is people will run either 1.7s or 1.9s. They'll just immediately just jump to that and put it on the rig, which makes sense because there was a lot of people that said, why didn't you just put 2.2s on the 1/10th scale Capra? And there are people that put the taller tires on it. And it totally changes the look. It gives it that more moon buggy feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that pretty common. So
wheels are a good change on the Capra because it looks really Walmart toyish by out of the box. Like it's just not all that cool looking.
Yeah.
What was weird, like, so the other one that they had come out with, I guess after the Capra, would have been the AX24.
Oh yeah, then I forgot about that one too. Then they came out
with a lot of people that were upset about that, and I don't understand that one, because I actually thought it was really cool. It's like a retro rig like the Betty and stuff. I thought it was neat, but man, it got quite a bit of hate.
So I always thought, so that was one that I was like, all right, that's cool, because I like the nostalgic of it. Like I thought it was cool, like you said, to bring back the retro, and it actually makes sense though when you saw everything leading up to that release, because that's another one that a lot of people thought, oh, it's going to be a Rock Racer, because for some reason they keep using the hashtag, even with the latest release, they keep using that hashtag Rock Racing, and I don't know why, because it's like
they must have something coming later in the year then.
Maybe. And then that came out, and like I said, I thought it was cool because it's 4-wheel steer out of the box, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so.
And it's a 1/24 scale of their basically first car that put them in the crawling market. So
yeah, with a tiny little body, I mean, you would think this is like right up people's alley that are crazy about 24 scale stuff.
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
So that one was kind of like, yeah, that one was another one that was, I thought about, I did it for a while. I thought about getting one because I have one of those. I have an original like XC1 style rig. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll get another one. I'll just like stick it in the box next to it, since that one's sitting in the box. So, but then out of nowhere, within like a week later, they came out with another release. They're like, oh yeah, we have another release for you guys. And the night before, my phone was blowing up like crazy. I was getting the quote unquote leaked photos and this, that, and the other. And everyone's like, oh, this is the rig that they're releasing tomorrow. This is the rig they're releasing tomorrow. And I was like, really? And that was the SCX10 Pro kit. And I gotta say, this has to be one of Axial's best releases since they came out with the 6-scale release. Because the 6-scale release, there were people that picked on it for being so big, but it did get quite a big, I I guess you could say, following as soon as it was released. There was a lot of people that went out and got it. Now, the SCX 10 Pro kit kind of is, well, it's going to be the first flat rail chassis rig that's picked up in the, or I guess you could say picked up in the big name market. And it actually is kind of like following what's going on in the scale world, or what's going on in the crawling world, you know, as we speak. So that was something I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah,
so
everybody's LCG crazy right now.
Oh yeah, everybody's LCG crazy. Like, I mean, last year, right before Axial Fest, Rock Pirates really took off. Everybody was building a Rock Pirates rig. They either had just the, and I'm guilty of it, I got a couple of their shock towers. Their towers came out, then they came out with their Interceptor chassis, and everybody's building, you know, low slung, you know, rigs. And then now that Axial's come out with this, you know, it's right up everybody's alley. You're getting something in a kit, in a box, that you could put together, and it's going to be a LCG style rig, something that's going to be good for, you know, hitting lines and all that stuff. To me, the only criticism I can give them is I think they missed it a little bit with the price for what you get. I mean, if you were to go out, let's just say you went out and you bought an aftermarket chassis, pick your brand, Brazen, IE, Rock Pirates, you're probably looking at $60-$70, I think, for their chassis, something around there. You get a transmission kit, an Axial transmission kit's anywhere from $50 to $60, I think, if you get like the 3 gear, or even like just getting one of those off like eBay or Amazon. Get a set of axles, you got about another $100 into that. Link kit, your average link kit, another $50-$60. I think you easily could have put this rig out, or this kit out, for about $350, $375, and it would be like that sweet spot of you're getting a rig when you're all said and done that's going to perform better than the SCX 10-3, but you're not. So yeah, you're going to pay pretty much almost what you'd be paying for a full rig. But the fact that it was like, what is it, $429, I think, it just seems like kind of high for what you're getting. I mean, end of the day, you're getting everything without having to source it out. But I still think just for what you get, because I mean, even in the Raw Builders kit, I think that was, what did that thing start out at? Like $225, $249, somewhere around there. I'd have to look that one up. It wasn't that expensive. So I'm going to look it up right now. Yeah, right now you can get it, Horizon Hobbies, it's $239 for the Raw Builders kit. That's why the jump to the $429 for the Pro was kind of a shocker.
Yeah.
Because you're paying, essentially, you're paying $200 more, and you're kind of like, okay, it's almost going to be in the same, well, it is going to be in the same condition as the Raw Builders kit, just more performance driven parts.
God, it's like priced like a race car almost.
Yeah.
Start getting into that.
The thing
territory.
also, the one thing though that I do really like about it too is I was actually shocked that they went with the straight axles and not the portals. Just because, you know, everybody's portal crazy right now when they build these things, because you build it low slung with the portals, you're getting the clearance, plus you're getting, you know, they also build it low, low center of gravity, so it sits a lot lower. But I like that it's a straight axle. They did beef that up. The thing that was a little irritating was they showed it with the picture with that body on it, and there's no answer about that body. There's some people that say they heard it's coming out in April. There's other people saying that it's some sort of like prototype. I mean, I heard all different kinds of stories about it.
Huh.
But I mean, that body, it's cool because it's different. But I have a feeling it's going to be like the next Cliffhanger or the next Power Wagon. Everybody's going to get it because it's got that comp cut to it.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
But I'd like to get one. So probably end up doing that at some point.
There was a. Are you going to talk about some of the comments and stuff that you saw people make?
Oh,
that was
that's right.
such a circus. Oh my God.
See, and then that's the other thing too. Like, you cannot win for losing if you're axial. I mean, you release something, everybody's ripping on it, going, "Oh, it's gonna be another Jeep. Oh, it's gonna be this," and then they come out with something that's actually really cool, and then people still complain about it.
Yeah. Well, I want to jump back to that AX24 really quick, just because,
Okay.
you know, how we were talking about people kind of hating on it and stuff. I was looking at the features of this thing, and not only is it 4-wheel steering, but it's got 3 different 4-wheel steering modes. It doesn't have a real chassis. It's got a side plate chassis like the first one did, or the 1/10 one did. Excuse me. And then it has LED rock lights that are built into the sliders too, which is super cool. So that's a lot of awesome stuff for $160 car. I don't know. I don't see where the hate's coming from. I think a lot of the hate directed towards the Pro Builders kit, though, is just jealousy.
I think so too. I mean, I got to pull that up.
It's got people worried because I know one of the ones that we saw, there was a guy saying like, "Oh, great, now every rich kid's gonna buy one of these and enter comps with it." And we're like, what?
Yeah, and
So funny.
Rich kids.
If somebody wants to go and hunt back through and try and find this comment, more power to you. I'm not going to name the person, but yeah, the person said, "Now every rich kid on the block is going to swoop it. It's going to." He goes. Then he put the quote, "Built, not bought." For the people that can't build their own comp crawler, seems like there's always shortcuts in life. And it's like, really? So, I mean,
shortcuts in life. This is one of those life moments.
But I want to know where that like logic comes from, because I'm sorry, unless and what's funny is actually, you know, Harley nailed this guy in the comment section and was like, "Oh, okay, so you turn down your own links, you cut out your chassis, you know, on your plasma table, like, so you build it from scratch, like, really?" And it's funny because it's like your comment by saying "built, not bought" would imply that you are building it all from scratch. Just because you go and take somebody else's chassis, some axles, a link kit, a motor, a transmission, and you bolt it all together does not mean you built it. You assembled it. Like, that's not building it.
Yeah,
I just couldn't.
There's no everybody that builds something, they're build, unless it's one of the just crazy scale guys that you see on YouTube, like SBC and that what is it, Pardon My Noob, or whoever it is. I mean, there's a lot of guys that do like scratch builds and stuff, but like buying parts and putting them together and getting all of those parts in one box and putting it together is the exact same damn thing. Like, there is no difference whatsoever.
And that's what's funny, because that's what a lot of people in the comments were saying. They're like, where are you coming at? And then he tried to like double down. He said, "Well, that's fine, but then I guess they shouldn't be allowed in comps then, because it wasn't." Because he goes, "They didn't go out and build it like we did." And it's like, that's what somebody said. They're like,
that's a prerequisite to, like, they tech the cars that, "Oh, you didn't build this. This is an RTR. You can't run with us." Or what? That's just can we call it for what it is? That logic is fucking crazy.
It's just somebody trying to suck the fun out of everything else. And like you said, it's a fear that what, are you scared that something out of the box is going to outperform something you sourced together and quote unquote built from scratch?
Built, not bought. Well, I'm pretty sure you bought every piece there, dumbass.
Which is what everyone was saying. Like, I just couldn't believe that, like, that's the kind of responses we got out of people when they released this. Like,
Oh, I had a great one the other day. We had a guy who was just evidently some sort of engineer. We were talking about our servo mount, and he said that the weight of the servo mount is going to snap the truss off of the axle. You know, because our mount screws onto the truss through the holes, and he's like, it's gonna snap that off. I was like, what situation driving your car in a normal way would ever cause enough stress to break the servo off? It's like, expand on it, you know, like, tell me, you know, prove it, you know. And he just had one word: physics. That was his answer. Physics. It's like, dude, you're out of your mind.
Do you remember that time you were owned in the Facebook comment section?
Physics. Well, shit, how do I argue with that?
You don't. It's physics.
I guess not. It's physics.
Yeah.
People are absolutely crazy. They want to argue just about anything. They get upset at anything. And it's
tell me
always
about it.
Stupid shit. That dude just wouldn't back down, though.
And that's
it was so funny.
Yeah. And then also the other thing I also want to bring up, and I don't understand like what the whole hype is about this, because I first started noticing it when the SCX6 came out. What is with the infatuation of having to create a page for whatever got released first? Like, what is the infatuation with that?
Somebody else said something about that too. God, somebody just the other day made a remark about that. Like, we were, oh no, it was a while back actually. I think Travis and I were talking about like admins and stuff, you know, like how admins think that they're rock stars of these groups and stuff. And it's like every time something comes out, they're just like, SCX6 official group, SCX6 original group. Like, you see this all the time, and it's
well, that's like I said, when I first noticed it, because I had joined one of the SCX6 groups, and I was, you know, whatever, I joined it, and it was just before I got my 6. And then and then Elio sent me something, and he said, dude, you got to get this. And I'm like going, dude, where do you see that? I'm on the SCX6 page, but I don't see that. And he goes, no, it's right here. And he sent me the link. And then I noticed that I wasn't a part of that one. And I'm like, it's like spelt like the exact same way. Like, how are you supposed to know what group you're in if like there's 6 of the groups named the same thing? I'm like, this is, yeah, I was just fine.
We have Axial SCX6, 490 members. SDX6 Honcho, there's a group only for the Honcho.
Yep.
260 members, 8 posts a month. That's definitely worthwhile.
Wow.
Axial SCX6 Fanatics, 638 members. Axial SCX6 and Honcho Fan Club, 577. Club, yep. We get it. The SCX6 is huge, 9 members. That's literally the name of the group. We get it. The SCX6 is huge. Then there's another Axial SCX6, which is 5.6 thousand members. That's kind of legit.
I think that's the one I'm in.
Axial SCX6 upgrades and mods, 3,100 members. SCX6 owners and friends. Axial SCX6 group.
I am friends to the SCX6 community.
Owners. Axial SCX6 UK. SCX6 buy sell trade. Official Axial SCX6 with 371 members. Axial SCX6 bouncers. SCX6 owners group. SCX6 builders guild. SCX6 and driver. SCX6 mods and upgrades. SCX6 scale crawler. Midwest SCX6 owners, 9 members. Florida SCX6 owners club, I bet that one's wild, 8 members. SCX6 Canadian edition. Michigan SCX6 trail group. Axial SCX6 owners of Texas. SCX6 Australia, SCX6 India, SCX6 H-Tech Custom, SCX6 UK owners, Dayton SCX6 crawlers, Ontario. Dude, there is...
Hey, Adam, have you paid your SCX6 group union dues?
No. I'm only part of one of them. And I think that was the one that has the 3,000 members in it, and that's it. But I mean, that was just the thing that I wanted to bring up. It was just funny because within minutes of that getting leaked, there was already a page for it. I'm like going, wow. I said, that didn't last long.
It's a bizarre thing. What are you counting?
There's 32 SCX6 groups on Facebook. 32. And every one of them has their rock star admin that, no, this is the official fan club union, huge car drivers club friends.
And then, of course, we're getting these other people. Like I said, we just right here on the SCX10 Pro page, or Pro owners, the one that I'm part of.
Which isn't out yet.
I'm bad at math, but I'd like to see some other people's napkin math to build a comp truck at 429.
That's a pretty good point.
I mean, it is a good
Napkin
point,
math.
but I mean, what I'm getting at is you're still not building a full comp truck. You're building
shit.
you're building a slider at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the builder's kit or anything else. I mean, what's the difference if you buy one of the raw builder's kits and you buy a set of flat rail chassis too and put it together? Because the builder's kit came in a box, you shouldn't be able to comp it then, by some people's logic. Like, just, RC just, we've said it a lot. It's either the best or the worst people.
No, it's hobbies.
It draws a really goddamn weird crowd.
It's just hobbies.
Oh yeah, tell me. Yeah. So, anyways, I mean, it is what it is. I really could, like I said, care less about how many pages there are. I just find it funny that everybody's got a bitch. And then there was one person that actually kind of came to the aid of that guy who posted the original post, and he said, I don't know what you have to be worried about. If anybody has to go out and buy one instead of getting all the parts and sourcing them out themselves, don't know how to set it up anyways, so they can run with the big dogs because they wouldn't know how to set up a comp crawler if their life depended on it. And I'm here going,
that is such a hypothetical situation. Like, he's just inventing a scenario just out of thin air.
What if you just relaxed?
What if a guy that has a Toyzuki or G-string chassis and he's like, hey, I want to, I'm gonna buy the pro kit and I'm gonna build it. Like, is that okay because he has had a flat rail chassis in the past and he knows how to set stuff up? Like, I mean,
and that's the problem. That's
such
such
a
a
invent scenarios.
Yeah.
Plus, honestly, who gives a shit that much to worry about it? Really? Like, I mean, you have no control over what people are going to show up with. Somebody's always going to have something nicer or put more money into it. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to drive better than you, but who cares?
Well, so I'm glad that you said that, because I wish Michelle's dad was hearing this right now, because I used to tell him all the time, because this is how, at the beginning of when we first got in the hobby, this is how he used to justify doing anything to the cars. So he would look at what everybody's doing at the events, and if everybody was running a certain tire, I got to have that tire. It's got to be the best one because everybody else is using it and they're crawling better than I am. And I go, how many times I got to tell you, you could have the most capable rig in the world. If you cannot drive to save your life, it serves you no purpose.
Yeah.
Because I tell him all the time, I go, if you have a capable rig and you don't know how to see the line and crawl the line, you're still not going to be able to do anything with the capable rig. So
I wonder if that dude had a conversation bitching about that new kit to his wife or something.
I don't know. And
Like,
that's the
if
other
that
thing
was
too.
a dinner table discussion. Like, obviously the guy's pretty worked up about this. You know what I mean? So it's like, well,
Well,
who
the other
in
thing
his
too is,
circle had to listen to that?
well, that's the other point too. Is the problem is, and this is just a Facebook blanket statement to begin with, is that's what Facebook does to people. It allows you to have your own little individual soapbox, whether or not anybody else wants to hear it or not. And, you know, you just feel like you could say whatever the hell you want. So, but yeah. The only other thing I got to say is if Spencer's listening, if they release that, if and when they release that video, that body, I think I'm going to send it out to him to get it painted up, just like I had him paint up the other one.
Have you seen it all anywhere? What that thing's called? I have not found that body anywhere.
That's what I'm saying. I'll go back because I was just in the group. There was somebody just asked that the other day. Oh, let's see right here. No, that wasn't it. Where was it? What are you planning on? Then I always love the people that like, I'm sure they just want to get talking. What's everybody's plan on their setup? I think if I go with this, I'm going to order this servo, that thing, this, that, the other, this motor, this. It's like, who cares? Not trying to sound mean, but.
Are we 12 years old again? Get it.
And then somebody said, oh, I tested a cliffhanger body on this. Fits no problem. It's like, yeah, no crap.
The body literally fits anything out there that's 1/10 scale. Oh. Hey guys, just so you know, 1/9s will fit on this perfect.
Yeah, and then somebody is already complaining. Straight axles, really?
Oh
Yeah.
God.
Looks better.
Yeah, because Axial isn't stupid, and they realize that you don't do an LCG build and put portals under it and raise your center of gravity an inch off the ground, you morons. That wasn't very nice.
Tell us how you really feel.
Well, it's just common sense. It's like, really? I mean, they designed it this way so that it's low to the ground. You know, that low part of low center of gravity, that L in LCG is low. Portals don't make it low. They make it tall.
Do you have your Howard Stern glasses on? Or?
No.
Interesting. Somebody posted, I'm going to go check it out now. Somebody posted they found the body on Axial's website. It's just called a comp crawler body is all they're calling it.
Man, I bet that was a tough one to name.
But yeah, that's definitely a cool rig. I got to get one ordered up sooner than later. I might hit up JJ, see if he could get me one on order.
Could you look on their site to try and find the body?
Yeah, right here. Yeah, it says body set 1/10 SCX10 Pro Comp Scaler. That's all they're calling it.
I wonder why they haven't
Says
advertised it or anything.
It says pre-order because next shipment is April.
Wow, that's a ways away, huh?
Yep. That's probably why they haven't released it yet or haven't drawn anything to it because it's such a far out.
Yeah, I mean, if you announce it now, all anyone's going to do is complain about why it's taken so long.
Yeah.
I'd probably do the same thing if I was them too. Just let it fly under the radar for a while and be like, okay, they're here.
The only other thing I got to say that's kind of cool is there's a lot of speculation about that body. A lot of people thought it was a Proline release, but it's being branded as an Axial body.
Yeah, it's true.
So, but those are Proline wheels and tires, obviously, on the release image.
Yeah.
So,
Which I was
But-
surprised to see that they didn't put 4.19 high racks on it for the pictures.
I don't know.
Because that's what they put on everything, whether it's the right choice or not. Class 1.
I actually like that they didn't.
No, I know. I thought it was cool they actually used crawlers in the picture, but I was still surprised. I thought they would have had like one of their so-called comp tires on the truck for the picture at least.
Yeah.
Weird decisions, huh? Like with having so many different brands in house, like trying to decide what's gonna go and fall under what label, and you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Well, that's what's got kind of weird, because I mean, I'm sure you guys haven't went and looked, but if you go on axioladventure.com, because that's what Axial's website is now, and you actually scroll through the bodies, once you get through all the Axial, they actually have a couple of the Pro lines on the website.
Really?
Yeah, it's a little interesting.
Did they have that Proline Chevy on here that was on the limited edition one?
Let me look real quick.
I'm not seeing it yet. Oh wait, yeah, there it is. No, that's the 67 Chevy C10. That's that giant one. Whoa. Did you see
Yeah, they have
that?
bodies on here that I didn't even know they had. They brought the hardline bodies
Yeah,
out.
for the XR10. I just saw that. I was like, what the hell? Weird. Wraith bodies are back on here, but they don't even sell the Wraith anymore. There's got to be something in a pipeline to take the place of the Wraith and the Bomber. They
Oh,
can't-
right here. Once you get down on, you're halfway through to the second page, you get the Proline 110 Jeep Comanche, the 91 Toyota 4Runner, the Dodge Power Wagon, the Metric Body,
Yeah.
the Wrangler JL. Those are all, it even says right next to it, Proline Racing, and they give you the part number, but it's on Axial's website.
That's weird, huh? Yeah, I'm not seeing that limited edition one yet. Of course, I'm only on page 2. Let me look on 3.
Page 3, they have the regular, the step side Chevy, and the 66 Chevy with the both of those are the 2-piece ones.
Wow, maybe they aren't going to offer that thing aftermarket then. It's too bad because it wasn't a bad looking body.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think so, because now it goes into
not seeing it. Crazy.
So
Interesting.
But yeah.
32 SCX6 groups. That still blows my mind.
What else has come out?
No, it's been a while since I've seen like tires or anything cool like that.
Yeah, the last set of tires that have been pretty cool were the Mickey Thompson Pro X, the Baja Pro X's or whatever they're called.
Yeah, there was that. Vanquish came out with a couple new tires. I can't remember if we talked about that or not, but they were awesome.
Yep. We haven't. I don't think we've talked about them, but yeah, they're.
Yeah, the Falcon Wild Peaks. They got a kind of a 4.7 and then a 4.19, I believe.
Yep.
They look really, really good. They're probably the best like detail mold of any of the Falcon tires so far that have been available from anyone. There's actually been quite a few. I mean, like way back in the day, ECX had Falcon tires. RC 4-wheel drive has a couple. Then Axial had theirs, and then now Vanquish has 2 different ones. Strange brand to become so popular with RC stuff because it's not typically somebody's first choice for wheeling and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
You see a lot of BFGs and other tires, Nittos and stuff before you ever see Falcons on anything that's built to go wheeling.
Exactly.
You know what brand I always forget exists is Pitbull.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I haven't thought about that in a while.
Yeah, like they're never on my radar at all. And they've actually expanded their product line quite a bit from the last time I looked. So that's kind of cool. Well, SSD came out with some really, really awesome looking 1-inch 24 wheels. They look so good. Not bad either. $30 a pair. That's pretty good. They come with brass rings. You know, the inner clamp rings brass. That's pretty awesome. So we got Vanquish. We didn't talk about, well, I mean, we briefly talked about they came out with their new 2 different color RTRs. I think they got a silver Phoenix and a red one. And I was looking at their electronics, and the radio looks pretty decent. I don't recognize it from, you know, being used on any other brands, but I noticed their ESC is the exact same one as the Reedy that comes in the Element rigs. Like identical. It's just got Vanquish's name on it, which is cool. It's a solid ESC. People like it. It's weird. I see a lot of people talking about, like, in the Element groups about how garbage that ESC is, but I have yet to have one fail. Like, we have quite a few cars with like RTR electronics and stuff because it just doesn't make sense to buy like nice teak and stuff for every single thing we own, especially when like some cars like have been driven once and just sit, you know. And so it's I don't know. I don't know what their problem is with it. And I've ran them on 3S all day long and have no issues at all. So I don't know why people are frying them.
Yeah, I have no idea.
We had the Element Trail Walker that came out, the black one. It's matte black with a red interior or red paint on the inside so that when you scratch it, it shows through. So that was kind of cool. Makes it look rusty and stuff. I was honestly, when that came out, I was expecting to see some kind of a hate post about, you know, well, us OGs in the hobby have been weathering our bodies for 10 years now, and it's not right that you can just buy one and it's ready to weather already, like as soon as you get it. Figured somebody would hate on it and complain about it being a shortcut in life.
Built, not bought.
Built, not bought. I remember we did that on one of our sticker kits just as a joke.
And
then saw people putting them on their cars. So it was kind of funny.
Yep, I remember that.
Were you gonna say something, Trav?
No.
Yep, I still have a couple of those sticker sheets.
I don't know. I'm almost out. Like, my supply has been dwindling.
Slowly. And then King of the Hammers just ended.
Yeah, man. I saw today Johnson Valley Crawlers on their Instagram page picking up the trash. Oh my God.
Not good, huh?
Dude, people are pigs. It was so bad.
Yep.
I mean, like, I could not believe how much garbage and shit was left laying around.
Yeah, that sucks.
Somebody's got to pick it all up too. That's what really sucks. And it's like all those remote spots where people are out on the trail and stuff. Somebody's got to go out and chase all those places down where there were spectators and pick all the trash up.
Yep.
It's kind of messed up.
Oh, definitely. Is there anything else
we got?
Yeah, was there anything else in news?
I don't think so. I've been scrolling through trying to look. I think we've pretty much covered it all, but if we miss something, I'm sure somebody will
They've
point it out for us.
I know, which I'll have to look it up. They've announced, or at least Horizon's announced all the dates of their events that they're associated with.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Axial Fest going to be in the
Pull it
same
up
spot
real
again?
Yes.
We need to go to an event.
I was thinking that too. Well, we've got...
It's been way too long.
Yeah. Yeah, it has. I would go to Axial Fest just to run my very first car again. I think that would be fun.
Yeah, so
That'd
for
be cool.
2023, it was save the dates. July 19th through 22nd at Rob's Resort in Pollock Pines is Axial Fest. September 22nd and 23rd at Apple Valley is Proline by the Fire. June 9th and 10th is our Horizon RC Fest in Eli Field, Illinois. Then June 21st, 24th is Axial Fest Badlands at the Badlands Off-Road Park. And then this one, which I know is going to be more for, I mean, I don't know if we have anybody that listens to us that's in the, flying sector of the RC, but August 12th is Sport Flugplatz. It's in Germany. It's a Horizon Air Meet 2023.
Oh, that's
So-
cool.
Yeah, so those are the 5 dates that they announced right before Christmas. So
Germany, huh?
mm-hmm.
All right. I can get into the couple questions we have if you want.
Yeah.
Probably a good
let's
time.
do her.
All right. So, first one from Chris Trudeau says, "Howdy, fellas. Long time no hear. Recently acquired an Ecto slider, and I'm playing around with body options. I removed the X brace connecting the rear shock tower as it interferes with body options. See below. Here's a picture. I'm noticing the towers collapse inward, and I'm wondering if the hard plastics make a difference for certain parts, and what advantage does hard versus regular offer? It's been changed to an IFS front."
They've changed their plastic compound a couple times now. So
Have you gotten any? Can you get any of like the Enduro SE? Can you get any of that in the 2 different plastics?
no, I believe all of the new generation stuff is just... So you remember when it was gray,
Yeah.
the hard plastic was? So they changed that, and then their regular black plastic was updated to the same, I don't even know how you explain it, firmness, I guess you could call it.
Okay.
The same firmness of what the gray used to be. And so that is now the standard, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
So the old hard plastic is black and today's standard plastic. And I don't believe, for that reason, I don't believe they're going to offer optional parts for that. They'll probably, sell off the old gray stuff that they had, and that's probably something we're going to see disappear.
Yeah. Okay. So
It was hard to get people on board anyways, especially with it cold out and stuff. They would break stuff and everything.
Yeah. No, I was just curious.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
that's kind of the story with that plastic. It's not... It's a saga, I guess.
oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, otherwise, IFS Ecto. I mean, you're kind of fine with
Yeah.
however it is. Yeah, I wouldn't stress too hard about it. And then he had another one. He said, "Thoughts on Axial getting into the flat rail comp scene with their new SCX Pro, Vanquish throwing their hat into their RTR ring, Trax is changing the body on the high trail, and then thoughts on Red Cat with continuing changes with their crawler offerings and also branching into other niche markets like low riders and drift cars." I noticed Red Cat's been releasing a lot more of that over the last while.
Yeah, they released a RTR. We didn't really talk about the drift thing. They released a RTR and a kit version of their new drift car,
Yeah.
which is cool. I don't know. Personally, the whole thing with the Axial Pro, I think it's awesome.
I have like one thing. And it's not about the release itself. I think it's cool. Like I don't like anything. I don't dislike anything about it. I am a little worried about it's like the racing skepticism, but I am a little bit worried about it maybe establishing a trend.
Oh, pretty much every single trail truck is going to be like that nowadays.
And maybe not like
that's
all of
what
them.
everybody is doing anyways, though, like that.
It is
people
but
that don't even comp that are like, oh, this is my C1 build. And it's like, you don't even comp. It's just your trail truck.
yeah.
Well, see, that was the one thing that I was going to be nervous about, was that people, like to say that, when that rig came out, they're like, oh, this is going to be my new class 2 build. I said, well, it'll be your class 2 build if you put a certain body on it. You run the body that they're showing. It's the same thing like when the people do the Power Wagon body and they say, oh, this is my comp 2 rig. No, it's not. It's not your class 2 rig, because class 2, you cannot have the tires outside the body like that.
No, that's class 1. Class 2, you can.
I thought class 2, you had to have a minimum, because that was the whole reason why I ran a certain offset on mine, because you had to have it 3/4. No. Yeah, I thought you had to have a minimum of 1/4 of the tires had to be covered.
No, that's C1 SA.
No, I thought C1, the whole tire had to be underneath.
You're going to make me do it, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
Let's see too then.
That's what I'm saying. What's C2? Because I thought C3 was everything was outside.
C3 is 2.2.
C3 is?
Class description, class 2 trail stock vehicle. It can be modified to become a capable trail rig. Is not necessarily street legal.
Of all the things that I never thought we'd be reading off on our show.
I know, right? I don't know why I expected this to not be convoluted.
Yeah. In attorney speak, info attorney speak. Yeah, I mean, I'm not even talking about that. I just don't want every headlining release now to be the most comped out truck the OEM can.
Yeah, no, I know.
And I'm not that worried about it happening, but that's my fear, just because here
we go.
You see things like this happen in the industry.
Okay, class 2 body and cage work must be at least 4.5 inches tall. Inside of the front tires cannot extend outside the width of the cab at the doors.
Yeah, which if you actually look at those, unless the door, I got to see it straight on. Like the Power Wagon, that body is so narrow at the doors, it's inside the wheels.
Well, this is the inside of the front tire, the inside of the front tires.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can have whatever tread exposed. It's just got to be as narrow as the cab on the inside.
Okay. Well, then I guess there is some gray area that I got to learn about.
Yeah, because you could use a Power Wagon cab and just leave the fenders on and you're golden.
Well, no, I'm not just saying that. I'm saying is most people, if you ever look at those Interceptor chassis and stuff, like when they build those, if you ever look at them head on, the tires are clearly way outside because the offset of the wheels and everything are clearly way outside the cab. And they go, oh, it's my class 2 build. And I'm like, no, it's not.
They've even changed class 3. Class 3 now used to just be 2.2s.
Now it's spaceships.
It's 5.75 inch max tire size.
Yeah, and then I think that's where you can have the rear steer and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Jesus.
So I guess people need to change, I understand, or not change, but what Travis was saying about, is this what all the trail trucks are going to be? So my definition of a trail truck is something you can just take anywhere and just go and drive. Like, you don't have to, you're not worried about like, oh, if I roll over, I'm going to lose all my, scale accessories and this, that, and the other. Cause like, that's kind of some of the builds I've been doing lately is I want something I can just take out and run and have a good time, but not have to worry about it.
Sure.
Almost more like a basher kind of style. Like, you're just like, yeah, I really don't care. I can go out and use it. And, it's a little more performance driven than scale driven.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's a personal preference, but I like the sort of like a generic vagueness that comes with buying one of like the like big OEM vehicles.
Yep.
And then kind of going through that process.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be, because clearly that's why they labeled it what they did. If they were going to go that route of this is going to be the new norm, I think they called it the SCX 10-4.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. I recognize like what this one is. I'm just kind of wondering like what's the next similar release look like, and does that kind of push it any which direction?
The selectable overdrive's kind of cool. We didn't really talk about that with it. That's like the Phoenix. That's kind of cool.
There's actually there's that. And then the other thing that's really cool about it, which I thought was pretty nice, was this is the first time we've ever seen a different style shock other than their standard.
You're right.
Shock.
Oh yeah.
This is set up like the mini T's that everybody runs.
The shocks look almost like, I don't know, they look kind of like eBay shocks or something, with like that angular aluminum cap. I was kind of surprised when I saw that. They look strange.
It does kind of fit the aesthetic though, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I honestly have no complaints about that rig from what I've seen.
Me neither.
I think it's great. I just, like you, I hope that doesn't become a trend with everybody, because
well, but like, to be fair, it already is a trend.
Well, no, you're right.
Everyone's running the flat rail. What I really like about this is the fact that this is also a redesigned transmission. This is a whole new transmission that we have not seen before. Whereas typically they have the 3-gear. There is like some of the cover and stuff is 3-gear, or no, it's not. That's somebody put they're comparing the Pro kit to the Raw Builders kit. But it's got that low, almost like the Vanquish. What transmission is that? The one that's the forward one, the Pro kit?
Yeah. I forget the name of it, but yeah, it's got the motor forward and then down really low. It looks really similar, but what's crazy about this too is when Axial released the base camp, that was a new transmission design.
Correct.
And this has a new transmission design too. So it's like they've released 2 different trannies in like the last year.
Well, I think the problem is because I think they're still trying to refine their, whatever it is, there's going to be their new, go-to transmission, because like obviously this is set for more like your comp style builds, or I could see this transmission honestly being in more scale builds because of the low footprint. You're going to be able to put this in something and have a more easier way to put a full interior in.
Yeah, it'd be sick in an SCX 10-3. It would be perfect for something like that, especially with that offset pumpkin in the front end.
Yes.
Because that's the one thing about this transmission that you have to do is you can't use it with a centered pumpkin on it, because it's going to be in the way. So, I don't know. Hey, did you notice too that their axles assemble like SSDs do?
Yes.
That was kind of wild. Are the tube? I didn't look to see, but it'd be kind of rad if the tubes were metal, just for weight. No. That'd be kind of neat, or even an optional one.
No, to answer that, they're not metal, but there's a metal sleeve that they provide for the axles on this kit.
Oh, just like Vanquish did.
Yes.
It's kind of rad.
So, yep. So, like I said, I think it's pretty cool. It is definitely nice. It's like a nice breath of fresh air. And then I guess the other big deal that everyone's talking about with this is it's got a pretty slick servo mount for the I believe that's the 2-speed transmission, and then they also have another slick mount for a servo winch. If you choose to do so, they have it right there in the front on the same.
Yeah, lines up perfectly with that little fair lead.
Mm-hmm.
That and the steering servo is actually an awesome spot on that thing too. If you go with the axle mounted one,
Yep.
it's like tilted and then down. Like you
Yep.
can't get the servo physically lower than how they have it. Like it was a super, super smart idea. And again, that's like a byproduct of having the offset pumpkin on it. So that's something I would like to see everybody eventually go to, manufacturer wise, is have everybody switch to an offset pumpkin on the front end like that. Because that servo mount's rad. I mean, that's super, super smart, and it's great weight placement.
Yeah, which is one of those things, like, I'm actually, just now thinking about it, it's like, what would I rather do? Would I rather put my servo up in the chassis, or would I rather put it on the axle?
Well, I guess it doesn't matter points wise anymore. I mean, at one time C1 had to be CMS, but I mean, shit, who knows? That probably changed too, because it looks like all the circuit stuff's different from the last time I looked.
Yeah.
That with those axles, and if you went with, an axle mounted servo and stuff, that kit is going to be a monster. Yeah. Axle tubes, servos down super low. The transmission is like so low that you can barely see it in any of the pictures. I mean, like, that truck's going to be a monster, I think.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely, in the right step in my mind to the innovation. It'd be nice to see, and I'll just say it, like, I would like to see, Enduro, or Element come out with something similar to this, like as a friendly competition, bring some like friendly, competition back into it. Traxxas, I don't see them doing anything like this, because Traxxas they're always off in their own world. They like never really pay attention to what's going on. They just kind of like release what they want to release. But it'd be nice to see
the Mercedes 6x6.
Yeah, they are not market reactive at all.
Not really in touch with the demographic.
So I would like to see, I'd like to see Element come out with something like this. I think it'd be kind of cool.
I wonder if Scalers in Dubai buy all of the Traxxas Mercedes cars.
Probably.
That would seem like their market, because like over there, that is an everyday, a Mercedes is a grocery getter for those people. So,
well, funny you say that. I had that conversation with Michelle the other day, because I was like, I was saying, what's funny is we're the ones who get like throttled with all these cars and releases and whatever. I was like, you can get almost every car we have in the United States in Europe in diesel.
Yeah.
So it just cracks me up. It's like you go to all these other places, and it's like you just said, Mercedes is a grocery getter in Dubai, but here it's a luxury vehicle.
Well, you want to know what was weird? Like, this probably would have been 2002, maybe. I went to a, where was this place? It was at a speedway. Anyways, there was a freestyle comp that I went to with some friends down in California, and we just loaded the bikes up and drove all the way down there. And my buddy had a diesel Ford that we drove. And man, once we got down into LA, it was tough to even find diesel at a gas station back then. Like, we'd pull in, no diesel, go somewhere else, no diesel. It was like Pacific Prides and stuff like that. You had to try and find that actually had diesel. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of, I've always thought it was weird how they've always attacked the diesel industry, because it takes less steps to create diesel than it does gasoline.
But it costs more.
But it costs more, and they always throttle it, and they always are threatening to get rid of it.
I don't understand that either, because honestly, like, in my opinion, for just regular driving around and stuff, diesel's kind of like almost superior in every way, like as far as mileage and stuff like that. I mean, it's weird that it isn't something that's caught on here.
Well, what's funny is it's like I mentioned that to my boss because he's dabbled around the idea of getting a new truck, and I've been trying to talk to him about because he asked me like, do I like my truck? And I said, of course, I love my truck. But I do got to say, the newer diesels is not like, in more ways than one, the older diesels where you could just like run it and you don't really care, and it's just it's a dirty engine, it gets dirty, that's just the way it is. Now you got to pamper these things, otherwise there's going to be issues, and a lot of it has to just do with the amount of crap they put on these engines now.
As far as like EPA stuff, or
the emission stuff. The emission stuff is the big killer, and I see it. It's the number one thing everybody always talks about in like any of, like, for instance, like mine's generation's the L5P. So on the L5P pages that I'm on, like, people always say, oh, I just made the jump from an LBZ up to a L5P, and oh my God, he goes, this thing gets worse gas mileage and this, that, and the other. And they're like, yeah, but the power, like you're going to sacrifice something, because this thing will out-tow that generation Duramax sideways. Like, I mean, that's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Similar to like the trends we see in RC, one company comes out with something, then the next does. And it's just a constant, like, that battle, and they just keep, climbing up the ladder, and we just go, okay, what's the next, standard going to be? Because it was like the race to the first factory vehicle that came off the lot with 1,000 rear wheel horsepower, or no, torque. Sorry, take it back. Torque. It was the first one to hit 1,000 foot-pounds of torque, was like the biggest deal. And I think Ram did that in like 2020 or 2021. Then Ford came out and they got over the 1,000 horsepower or 1,000 foot-pounds of torque mark. I don't know about Chevy. I don't know if they made it there yet, because I know my truck is right under the threshold. I have supposedly I have 910 foot-pounds of torque.
That's which is mind-blowing. Whoever would have thought that you would get that out of a stock vehicle?
Which comes back to like what we're talking about with these RC cars. It's like, who would have thought this is the rig, So I don't know. It's kind of like, that's just like the way everything seems to always be. There's always like another evolution of something.
Oh, sure. I mean, it goes back to the comment I always make, like, look at what Scale RC has done in the last 5 years versus the previous 15. It's just one thing after another, kind of trying to just kind of put that up a bit.
It is weird though how in like the last 3 years probably how the LCG craze has taken off, and like people just could care less about scale realism. It's like the people that are trying to make scale builds are like such a huge minority now, because everybody's just like, I just bought this Ecto, what class would it be in? And and it's like, are you planning on comping with it? No.
I don't think the scale challenge is as appealing as it maybe used to be, or I know at least it's definitely just less appealing than, going out like all performance based and everything else. I think it just doesn't, like, at face value strike a lot of people something that's interesting. I think maybe actually a lot of those people probably start out in some of this comp stuff and then maybe find their way back to it.
Could be. I mean, it's kind of, I see what you're saying about kind of how you end up sort of circling back to it, but
I call it full circle. If you want to know
for some people that's definitely the case. Yeah, it all depends, I guess, on where you're at.
Well, no, I'm just gonna say, so when I got into scale crawling, there really was not a lot of scale accessories. I think RC4-wheel drive had a handful of bolt-on bumpers and sliders. And I mean, they were just like a handful. You had like 2 styles of fronts, 2 styles of rears, and 1 style of slider. Like that was it. And then, so back then, everybody was trying to get their car to perform better because, you know, you'd buy it in the ready to runs, you know, they sucked. You had to do battery mods and you had to flip this and you had to change that and change your spring rates. And, you know, there's all kinds of tricks people were doing to get their car to work better. Well, then like, so like that was like kind of like in itself, like everybody was all about performance. They're doing all these tricks to get it to work well. Well, then all of a sudden, I think people started going, well, that's nice that it works well. I want it to look like this. And then I think that's how the scale took off because people started going, oh, I want to make mine look like, you know, whatever, my real rig. I want it to look like this, or I want to replicate this build. And I think that kind of took off because it was that was the competition. It was no longer who can build a better line slayer, who can actually, you know, build a scalar rig. And now it's starting to go backwards because it's kind of like that, you know, big dick swinging, like who can build this that can outcrawl that. And that's where the competition's coming back into play, is within who can build a better comp crawler.
Right. It's just weird how realistic stuff in RC always ends up getting watered down, like it did with drag racing and stuff like that. Like it always starts out like kind of neat and like semi-real looking, and then after a while everybody just does the RC thing to them, and it's like tons of carbon fiber stuff, like chassis and stuff. I mean, like it happened exponentially fast with the drag racing scene.
I think
but
it's
kind of happened with scale too, though.
The drag racing is a bit of an outlier because it's like the perfect candidate of like, it's the perfect candidate to just be ruined by that sort of thing. Like all of the necessary components, like all of the necessary components were there to just absolutely ruin it. And
we started off with cool bodies, and now they all look like funny car bodies.
Yeah, but you know, otherwise, like for scale, there's also maybe another perspective too, where like you can kind of look at it generationally. Like you can see, you know, it appears as like all these people could be coming back to like, you know, getting into LCG and like performance, but then also too, like it may also be watching the same progression that happened prior to kind of like a new wave of hobbyists. You know, there's a good chunk of these people who probably saw this, you know, just, you know, as a third party or, you know, a friend of a friend or something like that. And, you know, this is kind of their first exposure is, okay, well, how can I make it just, you know, crush anything?
Right.
You know, so there's, you know, it could be that as well.
Well, that's what I was getting at. Was I remember back when the SCX10 was, you know, the only thing out, everybody was doing the XR mod. Then it was, I'm doing the wide XR mod. No, I'm doing the narrow XR mod. Like, see, people were always trying to bring in like, you know, the better performance, but there was that brief period where everybody just wanted something super scale. Then like all of a sudden that went out the window, and now everyone's right back to performance.
Yeah. And to be fair,
like tiny little bodies and stuff.
To be fair, I do think like it, you know, it is, I do recognize it is definitely more appealing to a general enthusiast than the scale stuff is at face value. Because I mean, like, you know, you walk into a hobby shop, you see you know, like an SCX10 for the first time, you see, oh, there's this scale looking thing. I mean, the first thing, or the, you know, like this cool little like crawler that looks real, and the first thought you're gonna have is, you know, probably not going to be, oh, I wonder if I can get a rooftop tent for that. You know, it's going to be,
there'll be those guys like me. Like I've fallen into that.
Yeah. But it's like, it's such a small percentage, you know what I mean? Like it's not, I think that I think is much less occurring than, you know, maybe the performance push thing.
It's crazy how like people are just completely narrow-minded about the performance stuff, though. Like this happened to me the other day on Instagram. I was posting the Associated A550 rally car, and it's got friction shocks. It doesn't have oil shocks. And I had made a post about it, and I was like, you know, I'm just gonna leave it and blah blah blah. And this guy starts commenting. He's like, man, that thing, you need to get rid of those friction shocks or trash, blah blah blah. And I was like, they're not that bad. Like I kind of just want to leave it as is. No, you need to get these 70 millimeter, racing shocks and put on it, and it's going to ride better, and it's going to do this and this. And I'm like, yeah, I know what shocks are. I mean,
That's
work in this industry, but there's something, what he couldn't grasp was there's something to be said for just enjoying something as it is. And
Well-
that's what I plan to do with some stuff,
Yeah.
like the Enduro SE, for example, or that A550. It's like, I have like line crushing cars and like really nice stuff, but there's that whole fun aspect of, like, I'm just going to drive it. I'm not going to worry about it. It's not like the nicest thing in the fleet. I'm just going to drive it and have fun and enjoy it for what it is. And some people just do not get that. It's like they will want to change something before they've ever even driven it. Like they'll buy an Ecto or something and be like, what's the best shocks to put on this thing? Like for whatever reason, people are still kind of hung up on that. If it comes stock, it's obviously garbage and needs to be replaced.
That's a hobby thing though. Like that's the RC equivalent of what is like true, like universal across hobbies. Like, like I'm in a bunch of like flight simming groups. And so people post pictures of like some home setups. People will try and make like home cockpits and stuff like that are just immaculate, like as close to the real thing as possible. And it's really impressive what some of the things people do. Like it's a really big community of just complete nerds. Right. But then what happens is someone who's just getting into it and, kind of posts up, their like screen, and then maybe they bought like a little like $80 yoke set and stuff like that. And they're just like, they'll post something like having a lot of fun, just getting started and everything like that. And it's like, I came across like a comment on a post like that was like, well, you're not even doing it. Like, or it was, what did he say? He was like, you're not even really trying if like you don't have like this control set, and he linked it, and it's like $800.
Jesus.
And the guy's like, well, like, okay, thanks. Like, yeah, that would be awesome, but I mean, I'm having fun with what I can do for now.
That's the same stupid shit that Harley had said about, well, if you don't have $1,000 to drop on a rig, then this isn't the hobby for you. Like, shut up. Let people enjoy stuff. Let them be new to it and experience it, and then decide where they want to go from that. But don't be like, you can't be a part of this if you're not prepared to drop this much. And that shit pisses me off.
I think my point is, I mean, that is true along with this. Is like, I think my point is that like part of the hobby engagement for some reason for a lot of people is the like projection of bullshit opinions. And whatever just people feel like they should say, because
they can be anybody they want on Facebook. No one knows the difference. They don't know what you know and don't know.
Yeah, but it's just weird. Like, it's not about like enjoying it for themselves. Like, they have to project the enjoyment onto other people, and people have to enjoy it the same way they do. So that's true for everything. Yeah. Like, and there's people like that.
That's a good point. It was just weird that I was just like, man, I don't want to spend money on this car. I want to leave, and just couldn't understand that. Yeah. It's like, I like it how it is. I don't care if it's bouncy. It's still fun.
Yeah.
Still having a good time. I mean, I don't understand like where people decide that based on whether it's their experience or the dollar amount that they spend or whatever, that like, that means that they can dictate to others that this is how it's supposed to be,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think scale will get watered down. I still think trail trucks are going to be, the big thing. But it's weird. In a way, I kind of wish I was a part of some of the axial groups. I don't know which one, because evidently there's a million of them out there. But it would be interesting to be a part of one of those groups and see, like, let's say the SCX 10.3, for example, groups for that if people are doing the same type of builds that the Element guys are doing, because we know that the Element platform is pretty, like, it caters to a lot of the comp builds and stuff just because of how minimalistic it is,
Sure.
like it doesn't have all the plastic that the 3 does and stuff. It would be interesting to see if it's the same type of customers building the same type of things on the Axial side of things, which, Adam, maybe you could, I mean, you probably would know this better than anybody, based on what you see. Do they kind of leave them alone, or are guys buying 3s and turning them into comp rigs? Like, what is the Axial scene like?
So right now, if you want my honest opinion, the Basecamp is like the predecessor to this SCX10 Pro.
It's popular.
So it's very popular for the people who are, I guess you could say, performance driven, like meaning they're trying to build something to like crawl over whatever. Because I'm a part of one of the Basecamp ones, which is weird because I don't own a Basecamp, and I think the people just like, they just kind of like invite you like into pages and whatnot.
Drives me nuts.
But so I'm sitting to, so anyway, so I'm in one of them, and the guy's like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. This is my Basecamp. This is what these are my plans. This is what I'm planning on doing. And da, 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 da. And they end up changing it so much to be like a comp crawler. I mean, even Rock Pirates RC, they went ahead and did the same thing. They took, or they actually modeled when they first came out with their shock towers and whatnot. They actually were putting them on Basecamps, and they have some videos on YouTube like, here I can take a Basecamp and make it a much more capable rig, and you can do this. Because I mean, I've just noticed that that's been like the platform that people use if they're going to build any kind of a comp crawler style rig.
Right.
Because you're getting something inexpensive. You're able to take a lot of the parts, use them, because I'll be honest, which I do have to look at the Basecamp transmission now that I say all this. I think that has a lot to do with it, because I'll be honest, the SCX-10.3 transmission is not the greatest when it comes to like a comp crawler style transmission. It's too, even with the gear ratio that you can physically put in and change, it's not the greatest.
I'm wondering if the same thing's going to happen with that Enduro SE. I'm half tempted to take one and just like put a very small body on it and some different tires and wheels and just see like how good that thing is without having a big body and bumpers in the way and stuff. I'm kind of thinking that and like the Basecamp are two things that are probably going to take off just because they are so minimalistic, and it appeals to the LCG build it up yourself crowd.
Yeah. So see how, okay. So I'm looking at this one right now. This guy, he's got the Rock Pirate RC towers on it, and I'm looking in the picture. It's a 3-gear transmission. So what they did was they reverted back to the 3-gear transmission with the Basecamp. So
can't lose with it.
But that's what I'm saying. That's the most tried and true transmission. The only thing that kind of kills you with the Basecamp when it comes to a comp crawler is the fact that you're using portals.
The Basecamp came with portals?
Yes.
Crazy.
I'm almost positive it came with portals.
I'm sure you're right. It's just something that I never really let sink in, that their base model they would have put portals on. That's expensive.
Yeah, let me right here. So here's the Basecamp. Yes, it's portals.
Crazy. That's really the way to do it, is either buy a Basecamp or an SC and just build up from that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So here's the thing though, with the Basecamp, see, that's the reason why this is becoming like also a popular one, is because you like I said, you're getting the best bang for your buck. It's an RTR. You're getting some of the newer components out of the SCX-10.3, like you're getting the adjustable chassis, you're getting all that stuff, but it's a $389 price point.
Right.
So, But yeah, so that's really like the go-to when it comes to, like I said, if you're going to modify something into a comp crawler, like you're going to get like a base camp. You're not going to get an SCX 10.3. I mean, unless you do like kind of crazy stuff like I'm doing, I guess you could say. I kind of went more performance based with my SCX 10.3. I took the JL body off. I put the body on that Spencer painted for me. I put the Rock Pirates RC shock towers. I'm still running the stock kit form SCX 10.3 shocks because I can't remember if they changed those in the RTR or not. And then it's got the 10.3 transmission, but I also had put, because I originally was running, I originally shit canned the portals on that, so I put the lower gear set you could put in there. And then that's got almost the same axles that come on the SCX 10 Pro, because I put the straight axle kit underneath there, and I took the SSDs off because I was going to use those for my 1-to-1 build.
So these are even different than the
Yes, a little
straight axle kit then.
Well, because from the pictures that I'm seeing, it looks like the link kit, instead of being a part that screws on, is kind of clunky. It looks almost looks like it slides onto the axle tube, and then there's a set screw that you set into the tube that holds it from rotating, and that's your link mount.
Oh wow.
It's keeping it like super tight, so like it's not something to be hanging up on rocks and whatnot.
Right. I think they're gonna sell a lot of these kits, honestly.
Yeah.
Oh, it does have high clearance links. I didn't see them in the front. I
Yep.
just saw the rear. Oh, it only has them in the rear.
No, the lowers, front and rear, should be high clearance, if I'm not mistaken.
No, just the rear. Wow, that is really strange. I mean, it makes sense because if they add high clearance ones on the front, it's going to belly out. It's going to create this big lump on the bottom where the skid is, and it's going to get hung up. So, I mean, like, I get why they did it. I was just kind of surprised to see that. This is one of those rigs that you start looking at, and they kind of thought of everything.
Yeah, that's why a lot of people said, well done. You actually listen to what people are.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, you're right. It is only high clearance in the rear.
Which, once you look at it, it makes sense. But I was just like, when I first saw it, I only saw the front view. I was like, why in the hell would they have done, why wouldn't they have done high clearance things? Like, even Element did that with their builder's kit. But yeah, so this thing is an angled skid too. Wow. I think they did a great job. I think they're going to sell many, many of these.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I feel like we've talked about this before
Now
too, like just in passing. Like, wouldn't it be crazy someday if one of the manufacturers like made a comp rig?
Oh yeah, it's 100%.
You know, like
a
I think,
conversation.
yeah, like I think we've all talked about it with each other at some point, and then whoever painted both those bodies for the Pro kit did a fantastic job. Those look beautiful. Flames are really hard to do, and that one that does the flame paint job looks awesome.
I agree.
So was Chris's, did we get through all the questions, or did we stop at Chris's?
We have one more question from Joey Carlson.
Ah, okay.
He said, do you think Element will need to come out with a I didn't even read this question before. Do you think Element will need to come out with a comp style factory team roller / kit to compete with the SCX 10.3 Pro using the XF trans? Probably. I know I've been patiently waiting for this.
Just rewind a little bit, Joey. Just rewind about 5 minutes and we'll answer it for you.
Did we answer your question?
That's a great question, because Element never caved to portals.
So
I don't know.
So go ahead.
I won't say I could kind of see it.
You think
Yeah.
Here's what I was just about to say. And this will be for anybody listening to the show. This will be your like sneak peek preview. If I can convince these two to do it, you guys need to create the kit.
Huh?
Well,
You guys okay. You guys you guys have already come out with the EXP kit. Okay. All you have to do now is come out with a chassis, a flat rail chassis based around the Enduro, and you got exactly what Axial came out with.
Yeah.
You need to seriously pitch that idea and see if you can make it happen. If not, just make it yourself. Add it to your EXP lineup. Come up with your own chassis, add it with the EXP kit, and boom.
Yeah. I mean, you could make a chassis.
Why do you sound
that
so
works
hesitant?
with- Well, I'm just thinking about it in my head because I'm thinking about like our shock towers and stuff. I mean, they kind of negate most of the reasons why you would change the chassis rails to begin with because of the shock.
Okay,
tower
well then
connections.
what if you
But-
just took your design, your shock tower design, and incorporated that into a flat rail chassis?
Right, like the side profile of it and just match
Yes.
it up, basically is what you're saying. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, dude, there's so many people that are making chassis. I mean, like if you were to say that the aftermarket chassis market is saturated, that's like a massive understatement because like
Oh, I agree.
everybody and their
saying-
brother makes one is the thing.
But I'm just saying, look at what Rock Pirates did. They started out making the towers, then they just incorporated their towers into a chassis, and now you could buy one or the other, just the towers or the whole chassis.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can totally see you guys doing that with your EXP kit.
I just think it'd be a hard sell just because of the competition, you know. I don't know if we have a strong enough following or customer base that could.
It's
nah, I think we could sell them. It just
what
doesn't.
you're honestly going to need is you're going to need somebody in the limelight. Like you're going to need Brad Geck to like actually like, you know, build one and put it out there. Then his following's going to go to you and get what, you know, get the parts. Because that's typically what's happened. I mean, I'll be honest, Rock Pirates was taking off on their own. Harley decided to do a Rock Pirates build, and then they like shot through the roof.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
So it's like that's the kind of thing like you need. You just need one person to put it out there and be like, look, this is element based. This is this. These are all the parts, and I guarantee you they'll move.
I mean, we've tried it in the past. Like we sent Tony Fallon an EPX kit. We sent Schultz an EPX kit. We've sent Brad one, and it's like, I think the only thing that we got at any of that is Brad had posted a couple pictures or something of ours, and that's it. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's like, who do you choose and who has the most reach? I mean, I thought that those would be good choices, but they kind of weren't really. I mean, it didn't really do anything for us. So
Yeah, I know. Well, that's hard. I mean, I don't know.
So I don't know. I'm pretty disillusioned with the social media rock stars anyways nowadays, and I'm just kind of, I don't know. I have weird feelings about all of it if you hadn't noticed. And I'm really cautious too when it comes to like new products or new ideas and stuff. Like I'm not the most brave person ever going, you know, yeah, let's do it, let's make it. It's like everything is just so calculated with what we do because it's just on such a shoestring budget, you know. I mean, it's just the two of us.
Yeah, I get it.
It'd just be, I think it'd be a tough sell for us to move chassis. I really do.
I don't think it would. I think it'd be easy. I think that the tough selling point is fitting into the ecosystem.
It'd have to be noticeably different than what everybody else is doing. Otherwise, you're not going to stand out.
Yeah. I'll ponder this.
If we did, so you, Adam, you've looked at like in person, you've looked at RC 4-wheel drive cars before, right?
Yes.
So you know how their chassis are like aluminum and it's just solid. It's not C-channel.
Yeah.
I mean, we could do something like that and drop the belly a little bit and angle the skid and do two aluminum rails, and then have our shock towers match up with that. I mean, that's something that's doable, but I mean, I don't know if I would do the whole carbon or G10 route. I'm not really sure. Either way, I would want it to work with our shock towers, though, just because they're awesome and there's no like bullshit involved with trying to get the body posts on. You're not having to rig something together or anything, and you can grab any element body and it's just going to drop right on.
Yeah.
So that part of it, I mean, which we have that over everybody else, and it's still a tough sale against like IERC or Rock Pirates. You know, for whatever reason, people like the Erector set looking cheap laser cut stuff, and it's harder to sell like really nice CNC stuff. Part of it's the price, obviously, but also, I mean, it's just, I don't know, that's what everybody's into right now. And the not having to jerry rig your body posts isn't a big enough selling point to sway them our direction sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I hear what you're saying. I mean, I don't know. I just think like,
I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm just like thinking about all this in my head.
I know. I know. And that's
kinda...
what makes you a business person. And that's what makes me a dreamer.
Whatever. No, I'm just a sissy. I'm not really a business person. I'm just scared.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I just think that if the people are wanting a element based, comp rig, so to say, and if you give them that option, then I don't see how the market wouldn't start looking at what you're putting out there, because yours is, element based.
Right.
All the other ones are universal, and people just use,
I had those exact same words in my head just now as you were saying it. I was like, now that I think about it, almost all of them aren't element specific. They're universal because it skids the same bolt pattern for axial and element.
Yep.
It'd be rad to design something around the Stealth XF trans, and it would be sick to somehow get that motor tucked down a little bit lower, even if it means just angling the skid and having the motor kind of pointing down a little bit to try and get a little bit of weight lower. I don't know. I have a lot of faith in that transmission. I think it's a great starting point. I actually put one of those in my EPX truck and freaking love it.
I definitely think you guys could make something happen.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll definitely end up talking about it, but because it sounds like you've piqued Trav's interest more so than mine.
Yeah.
I underestimate us a lot, though, because it's one of those things where it's like I'll say something and I shouldn't have or whatever, and I don't think anything about it. And it's like I forget sometimes that people actually do pay attention to us and like listen to what we say and stuff. And I usually try and discount it as like, oh, whatever, it's just us. Nobody pays any attention, So it's.
And you know what you could do? You can revamp the Project Grande.
It did make me think about whether an EPX style kit would work on the base camp. But then again, why wouldn't you just buy Passy rails for the base camp?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, there was Rock Pirates did a video on that where they grabbed one of their Interceptor chassis and put all the base camp stuff underneath it. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying is their stuff is pretty much like, it's a universal kit. Yeah, they might base it around something, but I mean, I've seen a ton of guys, come out with, a element based, like, they got the Interceptor rails and it's all with element, components.
Yeah.
So I guess the other hurdle really is to get element or to come up with, I've never looked at the element axles to see if it's possible, but would it be possible to come up with new axle tubes to create an offset axle?
That'd be tough.
That's going to be the kicker.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be a tough one. They're very similar to the SCX-10 axles.
And then the other thing too is there's the one other part about the Element, which I'm actually, now that I'm thinking about this, I'm very shocked that Axial did not add this or include this in their kit, is why they didn't decide to do the behind the axle steering.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because if they're going comp based,
space? I mean, it looks like there's enough space.
I'd have, you know what? If and when I get my hands on that, I'm gonna have to look at that, because I originally made my own behind the axle link for my original cheater rig that was based off an SCX-1. You just have to bend up the link yourself, and it takes some trial and error. You use something that you don't give a crap about, like you get some cheap, like, you know, aluminum, and you just keep bending it in place until you get something that works, and then you make one final out of like steel, or you can do it out of aluminum again, but you're just not, it's not going to look like spaghetti that you've tried to straighten out and rebend and straighten out and rebend. At least you know what bends work, and then you make it all once, one time. But yeah, I don't think there's going to be an off, unless somebody production, you know, wise makes a off the shelf you can purchase behind the axle. I just don't see, you know, it happening. But the other thing is you're going to have to come up with some sort of a knuckle then, because
that's what I was just going to say is the knuckles. These kind of look like the regular SCX-10 knuckles. They have them rotated to where the steering link is super, super high.
Yep.
But like what Element has is they have aluminum plates that bolt on top of the knuckle, like how Vanquish and stuff did with like the AF60s. And so that makes it really easy to do front or back, but it looks like it might be a little, yeah, the knuckles look like they'd be kind of holding this thing back from achieving that. The other weird thing about this, and I talked about this with Trav, and I forgot to say it earlier with the Pro, is I was really shocked to see they didn't do some sort of adjustable panhard mount like what Element did, because that's so nice being able to adjust the axle sway based on where you're setting your ride height. Like when, like on something like this, it looks like a stamped steel plate that bolts onto the side of it. I mean, yeah, you can adjust it with like the rod ends, for example, and kind of turn them out or in a little bit to adjust it. But man, having that adjustable panhard mount has been so nice on the Element rigs, because then, you know, it's not, if you're running like a full droop setup, it's not, you know, kicked all the way over to one side.
Yeah.
It still stays centered up.
No, definitely.
Man, that steering link is higher than the axle tube. I mean, it is way up out of the way on the Pro. A-Main has some fantastic pictures of this thing.
Yeah, no, now that I look at it more, it is. I mean, I'm just like, I guess that was their answer to it, was to keep it up high.
Pretty good. I mean, really, it's pretty good solution. I mean, I'm with you. I like the behind the axle steering. I've seen a lot of the Element guys that want to get rid of it, which I'm not really sure why. But I mean, I even clocked my knuckles back and still had space for it. I mean, I don't know. There's all kinds of room there to be able to retain it. So I don't really see any benefit whatsoever to get rid of the behind the axle steering. But with what Axial did here, it's probably the next best thing as far as I can see. Looks pretty good.
Yeah. No, it does. Yeah.
It's interesting that, have you looked at the Sendero SE very much, Adams?
I have not.
You saw though that it has like the mini T-springs and stuff though.
Yes.
It's weird because like I look at that and like the trans design and stuff, and it makes me wonder if there's something waiting in the wings like the Pro kit that they're slowly working towards, especially with their base model trail truck having comp style shock setup.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if there's like, you know, like something bigger going on in the background that's going to come out. They definitely kind of turned the RC world upside down with releasing this kit, though. It's got everybody talking.
Oh yeah. What I want to see, which won't be until I get my hands on one, I just want to see, because I'm almost positive it comes with that piece to put the servo on the axle.
Yeah, I think you're right. I believe you have your choice when you build it, if I remember right. Boy, that spur is so far forward. That's a really interesting transmission.
No, it is.
Like with those big long spacers and stuff, and the little tiny stubby drive shaft. And
the other thing I was looking at that drive shaft that's actually a little bit, if you ask me, on the scary side, is the fact that they're using a dog bone.
oh yeah.
That's one thing that kind of scares me, but I mean, they must have used it enough to kind of, see that it works.
The associated Apex cars, they're, like the Unicorn and stuff. Those are like that. They have dog bones in them, and I haven't had any kind of issues with them at all. I don't know. I mean, like even some like base scale buggies and stuff, like race cars, have even used dog bones. It's weird. Travis knows all about it. There's like this whole thought process behind going with dog bones, especially on independent suspension. But yeah, it is kind of weird with this one, unless, I mean, it doesn't need to be telescoping or anything, so I guess that's okay. It's just strange.
True.
Well, now I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight because you put all these ideas in my head.
No, well, I'm sorry.
I'll be messaging Travis. What about this? What about this? What do you think of this?
Well, actually, I started thinking about some more stuff. I'm wondering if they'll ever release these axles by them as a kit.
They're pretty rad.
No, the reason why I'm saying that is because I just thought of what I thought about a while ago is kind of coming intuition with these axles. I said, if they could make a metal, so if those are steel tubes and they're not aluminum, I don't know yet. I got to look. Even if it's aluminum, I don't think it'd be the end of the world. But if you could make those out of steel, you could weld on your own link mounts. You can weld on spring perches. You can use those axles for so much more than just this.
That's true.
And it's all stuff that now that I've been staring at this kit for the last hour and a half, I've started like getting all these ideas.
It's funny that you brought that up too, because I just saw a picture of a GCM rig today that used a coil spring with cups and then a separate shock, kind of like what Tamiya has with that CC01 and 02. I haven't seen that in such a long time, and I was just thumbing through stuff today and I saw that they did that. I was like, oh wow, what do you know?
Yeah.
It's just not something you see very often. Super scale though. I mean, lots of cars are that way. I mean, shit, even the new Raptor's that way. It has coil springs in the back.
Yeah.
Crazy. How we doing on time?
We're just shy of about like hour 50.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, good length on this one.
Yeah. No, it ended up being a really good conversation. About halfway through, we kind of found our focus, and
We found our mojo, baby.
we did. We did. Well, should we call it before I give Travis more stuff to edit out?
Yeah, we're at a good spot.
All right.
Well, cool. Well, yeah. I'm not going to make any promises on the next one, but thanks for joining on this one. It's been a while. Looking forward to more.
Yes, we'll see you again at some point, everyone.
Later.
See you.